Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. After completely milking the ever-living shit out of The Boys finale, what better way to dive back into my normal scheduled programming than to come out with a bang and release my part 6, oh my god, I can't believe it's even part 6, to ranking killers by their chances of surviving Dexter Morgan. Now, you know this is big when I bust out this card. This is how you know that I am back in business, baby. So without further ado, let's get into it. And I'm sure if you guys are a long-time fan of me, you guys already know the tiers, but I'm still gonna explain them anyway. Coming in at the top tier is They Kill Dexter, which is pretty self-explanatory. Season-long kill, which in Dexter terms means that it would take Dexter a season long in his universe to kill one of these characters. Couple episode kill, and honestly one episode, you guys already know what I'm talking about. Let's just get straight into the video. Coming in first, we have Freddy Krueger. Now, this one I actually want to talk about, and you might think I'm genuinely crazy for it, but please hold on, hear me out. In the real world, I think Dexter would put belt to ass against Freddy. Now, you might say, well, I don't really know about that, buddy, because in Freddy vs. Jason, Freddy actually held his own against Jason. And you are completely right, he did. But since we're doing Freddy vs. Dexter, and Dexter is not a supernatural creature, I think it makes more sense to use Nightmare on Elm Street 1 Freddy, where, you know, he is more grounded. Now, Dexter would study Freddy and eventually realize that this is not a normal killer. Freddy is an evil spirit who attacks people in their sleep, and once Dexter finds out he was a child murderer before becoming this dream demon, that would make him even more eager to take him off the map. The problem is, Dexter cannot just stalk Freddy, hit him with his M99, and then put him on the table like a regular killer. So Dexter would have to figure out the rules of the dream world first. But against someone like Dexter in the dream world, he doesn't really panic that easy at all. You could say Freddy could use Harry, Deb, Rita, Brian, or really anyone to mess with his head, but Dexter has lived in darkness his entire life, so Freddy's mind games might not break him as easily as they would break a normal person in the movies. And once Dexter realizes Freddy can be pulled into the real world, that is where this matchup changes completely. And I feel like Dexter would set up the room before going to sleep, almost like Nancy did, except with Dexter level preparation, you know, with traps, restraints, fire weapons, literally whatever he wants. And the second Freddy gets dragged into the real world, I feel like it's GG. Now I know, you guys are probably gonna say, what in the world are you talking about? Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it is a couple episode kill. On this channel, dude, we glaze Dexter. But if we really want to be really serious, sure, we'll give him a season-long kill. Next, we have Roman Bridger from Scream 3. Roman Bridger is easily one of the smartest Ghostface in the entire franchise. This man was not just some random killer throwing on the mask because he was bored. He was the real mastermind behind the original Woodsboro murders. He manipulated Billy and Stu, pushed them in the direction he wanted, and basically created the first movie's entire bloodbath from behind the scenes. And technically, you could even say he is indirectly responsible for what happened in Scream 2 too. So when you really think about it, Roman's influence stretched way farther than just Scream 3, and that is why I think he would have a very good chance of evading Dexter for a long time. Roman is smart and also wealthy and very connected, and when you mix money with intelligence, you can get away with a lot. Now, Dexter is still Dexter, he is an amazing detective, and sooner or later, he would start connecting the dots, but I do not think this would be quick at all. Like, I wouldn't put Roman Bridger in a one episode kill. Because what makes Roman so dangerous is his ability to manipulate and disappear. Honestly, you could genuinely argue that he's in season long kill because of that, but since it's Roman Bridger, and I really don't think any Ghostface on here would really last long at all with Dexter, I honestly do feel like Roman Bridger would just be a couple episode kill. I don't think he really makes it into season long kill if I'm being honest. But next we have Edward Carver from the Poughkeepsie tapes. Now, I probably definitely just butchered that movie name, but sorry guys, I'm a little dyslexic. Now, this would be Dexter's most gruesome and disgusting case he's ever worked on from a single serial killer. The tricky part is that Carver is extremely careful. He knows how to disappear, avoid law enforcement, and stay several steps ahead. Now, Dexter would probably have to investigate the tapes, of course, which would honestly be the worst part out of everything he has to do to catch this man, but once Dexter starts starts seeing how Carver operates, I think you would become obsessed with catching him. How I see Dexter catching Edward is through the tapes themselves. Let's say Dexter is studying one of Carver's recordings and notices something small in the background. Miami Metro might ignore it because, they are focused on the victims 9 times out of 10, and honestly, Miami Metro is just pretty incompetent to begin with. He would compare the times of the kidnappings, map out areas where that sound could be heard, then narrow it down to a few abandoned buildings or storage units. From there, Dexter could start watching those locations at night until he sees Carver moving a victim or dropping off equipment. And with Carver, I would have to put him in the same tier as Roman Bridger, but I would put him below Roman Bridger because, it would take some time. It's not like Dexter would still have to do something to catch Edward Carver. It's not just like, oh my god, this is the easiest case ever, where I look at it and it's like, I can easily find him in one day. I don't really think that at all. Next we have Mark Hoffman. As we all know, Mark is a cop, and that matters a lot, and it's kind of like Aaron Spencer from Original Sin, but Hoffman scales over Aaron Spencer in smart character debate any day. Now, Hoffman would know how investigations work. He would know when someone is getting too close, and he would know how to plant evidence, destroy evidence, and also frame someone else. And unlike John Kramer, Hoffman is very physical. If it comes down to a fight, he is not some fragile old man Dexter can just easily overpower. Now, I'm not saying Hoffman would beat Dexter in hand-to-hand. I don't think that at all. The reason I don't put Hoffman in They Kill Dexter is because, he still has weaknesses and he gets sloppy when emotional. And Dexter is very good at identifying people who are hiding behind a normal job. I mean, hell, Dexter does the same exact thing. So I would put Mark honestly in Season Long Kill. Next we have Lalo Salamanca. Now, the biggest problem with Lalo is that he's not just a killer, but he is very connected. He has cartel protection and people watching his back, and he also has enough influences to make problems disappear whenever he wants to, because he's got that cash and he's a part of the cartel. I mean, when don't they? Now, Dexter usually works best when his target is isolated, but Lalo Salamanca is almost never truly alone. Even when he looks relaxed, he is paying attention to everything, and he also has the boys right by his side. But the key to beating Lalo that none of his enemies have is Dexter's access. As a blood spatter analyst, Dexter could get close to crime scenes, police files, and evidence in a way that Lalo would not expect whatsoever. Now, Lalo is used to dealing with cops, cartel enemies, and criminals, but Dexter is different because he hides behind a completely normal life. He does not move like a rival gangster, and he does not move like a dirty cop at all. He's just some guy who does blood. Like, who really cares about this guy, right? And that's why I think Dexter has the advantage over Lalo in this situation. While Lalo is watching for obvious threats, because I don't think he would think that anyone that's not threatening would come after him, Dexter would be quietly collecting proof, learning his habits, and waiting for one moment where Lalo gets separated from his protection. Lalo genuinely would be Season Long Kill. I'm not gonna lie. Next we have Lord Malvo. Malvo is one of the worst possible matchups for Dexter because he would not just be running from him, he would be studying him. Malvo is the type of guy who would notice Dexter's double life pretty quickly, and once Malvo realized Dexter was hiding something, he would not just expose him right away. He would mess with Dexter's head, drop little hints around Miami Metro, threaten the people around him, and force Dexter to move sloppy. The biggest issue is that Malvo is not some regular killer Dexter can just sneak up on and hit with M99 if he ever does get the jump on Malvo, because Malvo is a professional hitman and he's always aware of his surroundings. Dexter would have to be extremely careful with how he approaches him because one bad move could get him shot before he even gets close. And if it turns into hand-to-hand combat, Dexter is still in danger. Now, granted, both of them are very skilled in hand-to-hand, but Malvo might actually have the upper hand because of his hitman background. So the only way Dexter wins is if he catches Malvo completely off guard, which is kind of way easier said than done, because Malvo is also a master of stealth, so this would become a full chess match to see who would mess up first. Now, this might be a hot take, but in my humble opinion, I feel like he would be the first person to kill Dexter Morgan. Next, we have the Collector. The Collector is extremely dangerous because his whole thing is preparation, and his whole thing revolves around creating controlled environments where he has every advantage. And that is a huge problem for Dexter because Dexter's entire system depends on control. But the Collector does the same thing in a much more screwed up way. If Dexter walked into one of the Collector's traps houses without knowing what he was dealing with, Dexter could actually die. Not because the Collector is smarter than Dexter in every way, but because Dexter is not used to being physically trapped in someone else's game. Now sure, you could argue, well, when Dexter was in Ray Speltzer's trap, he got away. But the thing is, Ray's trap was kind of just a maze and he was running at Dexter with an axe. Like, the Collector uses actual traps that if you step into or if you're there at the wrong time, you are dead instantly. The Collector also does not seem like someone who needs attention, and that makes him really hard to bait to get him away from his traps. I think it's another season-long kill. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Next, we have Mick Taylor. Now, with this fight, it has to be looked at in two different ways. If Mick is in Miami, Dexter wins pretty easily. All Dexter would have to do if Mick was in Miami is just track him, drug him, and put him down. Like, I don't really think that would be hard at all if Mick was in Miami. I'm not gonna lie. If Dexter has to go to the Australian outback and hunt Mick in his own lands, that becomes a whole different situation. I think Mick could give Dexter a couple episodes of real trouble. Dexter would underestimate how much the environment really changes the game. He might follow Mick too far, lose service, or to get stranded in an area where he completely has no idea where he's at. But once Dexter understands how Mick operates, I still think Dexter wins. Now, we kind of would have to be looking at this from the perspective that Dexter is in Miami. I don't really think he would travel all the way to Australia, but I don't know. I have to just put it in couple episode kill, but if he was in Miami, I would say 1 episode kill. Next, we have the Grabber, and right off the bat, I'm gonna put him in 1 episode kill. The Grabber's biggest advantage is that he preys on children and uses fear to do so. Like, he is completely dangerous to people who are helpless. So with that being said, what in the world is he going to do when he tries to scare a fully grown man who hunts down killers for a living? Also, the second Dexter realizes that this guy is kidnapping children, brother, that is a wrap. Now, Dexter has a soft spot for kids, and once the Grabber ends up on his radar, Dexter would not hesitate, and he would definitely make this a 1 episode kill to make sure he never hurts anyone ever again. So yeah, honestly, last but not least, we have Victor Crowley, and I'm gonna have to put him in They Kill Dexter. Now, Victor Crowley is a raging idiot. I mean, like, he's basically just Hulk smash in slasher form. Like, if he sees you, he just charges at you, and you're most likely going to die because he's going to turn you into mush. But yes, I would say in intelligence, Dexter destroys him, but physically, that is just where this matchup becomes a complete nightmare. But now, when I say that, you might be like, wait, what happened to Little Chino? I mean, wasn't he like a 6'8", 300-pound giant behemoth of a human? And keyword, he was a human, and yes, he did have to use more M99 dosages, but Little Chino was a human. Victor Crowley is a supernatural person. Even though Dexter is smarter than him by a mile, maybe he could trap him or something. I don't know. It's just like, you really just can't kill him. And I guess you could kind of say the same thing with Freddy. You can't really kill Freddy, but he could beat Freddy. Maybe. Maybe I'm just glazing too much. Here, I'll put him in They Kill Dexter just to, like, But yeah, this is the list. What do you guys think?